Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lawndale City Council, the regular meeting of the council. I'm going to ask the city clerk to give us the roll call, please.
All right, good evening, everyone. Mayor Pro Tem Kearney.
Here.
Councilmember Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman-Gorman.
Here.
Councilmember Cuevas.
Here.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Rhonda Hoffman-Gorman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask that if you have a flag close by, that you place your hand over your heart and recite along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Next, let's have our public safety report. Let's hear from our Captain Allen.
Hi, I'll be standing in for Captain Allen.
Okay, who is this, Captain Lieutenant?
Yes, Lieutenant.
All
right,
okay.
Good evening.
Okay, go ahead.
Member of the City Council. We're at the public safety report for February 1st, February 13th. On February 1st, in the early morning hours, we conducted a traffic stop of a vehicle at a hotel and contacted the 3 occupants. He discovered the driver was unlicensed, one passenger was on probation for counterfeiting and stayed at the hotel, and the last passenger possessed a large quantity of cash and pills resembling Xanax. All 3 were detained pending further investigations. During a probation compliance search of the probationer's hotel room, deputies found numerous counterfeit $20 and $50 bills, multiple cell phones, memory cards, and additional items, all utilized for counterfeit operations, plus additional narcotics. 2 suspects were arrested for counterfeiting and possession of a controlled substance and looked at South Lake Station. On February 12th, in the early morning hours, Elizabeth and Solid upon 17017 Boulevard. Arrival detained the suspects, but the suspects fled the location of their vehicle, and the deputies went in pursuit. After a brief vehicle pursuit, the suspects fled from the vehicle, and the deputies chased them until they gave up on 165th Street. Later that day, detectives identified a 3rd suspect from the burglary and took him into custody. The 2 suspects who fled were booked for evading police and burglary, while the 3rd was booked for burglary at South LA Station. Also on February 12th at about 5 p.m., Deputy Ferreira heard a broadcast from our helicopter deputies that they were following a stolen vehicle into Lawndale. Deputy Ferreira later observed the vehicle and conducted a traffic stop in the 16,900 block of Prairie Avenue in the city of Torrance. While detaining the vehicle at gunpoint, additional units arrived to extract the driver. At this point, numerous civilians emerged from their apartments and began shouting obscenities at the deputies. Due to the numerous hostile and uncooperative civilians, deputies left the location and concluded their investigation at another location. The driver was arrested for driving a vehicle without owner's consent and booked at South Los Angeles Station. The Sheriff's Department offers citizens the convenience of filing a police report online for specific incidents such as a lost or stolen cell phone valued at $950 or less, lost or stolen property valued $950 or less, vandalism excluding graffitiing where damage is valued under $400, theft from an unlocked vehicle valued $950 or less, theft from an open or unsecured area valued $950 or less, or if you were the victim of a crime and were given a supplemental loss form by a deputy and a file number, you can also complete that form online. All you would need to do is go to lasd.org with your desktop, computer, or smartphone and go to the File a Crime Report Online link at the bottom of the page. If further information is required, a deputy will contact you, but please do not file online police reports if you have suspect information or information that will lead to a suspect. Please do not report emergencies online. This is an automated system. For emergencies, please call 911. For non-emergencies, please call 310-219-2750. This concludes my report, and I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Hello, Mayor. You may be on mute.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I was in fact on mute. Well, thank you for that public safety report. Are there any questions of the public safety report? All righty, thank you for the report. Next item on our agenda is item D, which is oral communications. I'm going to ask the city clerk, have we received any oral communications?
Hi, Mr. Mayor. No public comment has been received.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir. No public comments. So we'll also skip comments from the council. We're now at item F, which is the consent calendar. What is the pleasure of this body concerning the consent calendar?
Mayor, this is Pro Tem Kearney. I make a motion to accept the consent calendar as written.
This is Councilmember Cuevas. I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made by Kearney and second by Cuevas that we approve the consent calendar. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'm going to ask the city clerk to conduct the vote.
Okay, for the consent calendar, Mayor Pro Tem Kearney,
Yes.
Councilmember Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman-Gorman,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuevas,
Yes.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Item 8, a public hearing regarding Title 17 of the Lawndale Municipal Codes pertaining to development standards for successor dwellings. Let's start with the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, members of the audience. This is Sean Moore, Director of Community Development. The item you have before you tonight is an update to our zoning code pertaining to accessory dwelling units. For the last few years, the state has been, you may have heard in the media and the governor mentioned that there's a housing shortage. And to address the housing shortage, the California legislature has enacted numerous revisions to state law, including specifically related to ADUs. And junior ADUs. And the council, if you recall, last year and the year before, we brought several revisions for reconsideration due to the state law update. This is another edition of the state law. And the previous adoption by council, junior ADUs and ADUs were only were allowed on one lot per unit on one size lot. So if you had an ADU, you could put if you had a single family home, you could put one ADU. Or you could put one junior ADU. Now the law has been updated and clarified by the state, and there's been a minor provision in the changes to ADUs. Now ADUs are allowed to be developed on any residential lot or any mixed-use zone lot that currently has a single family home or residence. So that's the change to the requirements from the state. The staff has found this proposed ordinance amendment exempt from California Environmental Quality Act. We did set out public notification. The Planning Commission reviewed this item back in the end of January 27, and they approved recommending approval to the City Council. The City Attorney's Office has reviewed the attached ordinance to the staff report. We see no fiscal impacts related to this action. Therefore, staff recommends approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or clarifications before we open up the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, it is now 6:40 and we will open the public hearing. I'm going to ask, are there any witnesses or anyone who'd like to provide any testimony in this manner? Madam City Clerk, have we received any testimony?
Mr. Mayor, Assistant City Clerk Ceballos,
Okay.
no testimony has been received.
Okay, thank you, sir. With that, we will skip testimony, and with that, we will close the public hearing at this time. It is still 6:40, and the public hearing is hereby closed. Now we bring it up to the dais for discussion amongst the council on item 8. Is there any discussion on this motion, on this item?
Mr.
Seeing
Mayor,
none, I'll entertain a motion.
no, Mr. Mayor, this is Mayor Pro Tem Kearney. I'll make a motion to
Yes, sir.
accept staff recommendation.
Okay, motion's been made that we accept staff recommendations by Kearney.
This is Council Member Cuevas. I'll second that.
All righty, and seconded by Cuevas that we accept the staff recommendation concerning the amendment to the Title 17 of the Lawndale Municipal Codes pertaining to development standards for accessory dwellings. Are there any debates on the motion? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask the city clerk to give us the vote on the motion, to conduct the vote.
Okay, for item number 8, Mayor Pro Tem Kearney,
Yes.
Councilmember Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman-Gorman,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuevas,
Yes.
Mayor Poland Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. That's item 8. Now we are on item number 9, which is also a public hearing. This is a public hearing to amend Chapter 17.50 of the Lawndale Municipal Code concerning density bonus provisions for residential dwelling. Let's have the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council, members of the audience. This is Sean again, Moore, Director of Community Development. I'll be quick. This is another update by the California legislature to address the housing shortage and crisis by incentivizing developers to provide certain incentives if they meet certain requirements. Throughout the last few years, the council has reviewed and approved several additions to the Lawndale Municipal Code pertaining to the city's density bonus requirements. This one is a little bit more detailed, but I'll be brief. They've made changes and to add certain definitions of what qualifies as a development standard, and to allow and clarify that if a development's within a half mile of a major transit stop, they've clarified that. I guess there's been some issues in other locations regarding the density bonus requirements. Updates to the eligibility requirements for density bonuses. Increases of density, but this is the big one, up to 50% from 35% for very low income. So they incentivize, providing certain updates to the density bonus clauses to allow them to go up to 50% if they meet certain requirements. Amends the density summary table. It's quite extensive with different variations based on low income, moderate income, or very low income, based on the concessions that a developer can take advantage of. Reduces the percentage of affordable units for lower affordable units to qualify for 2 and 3 incentive concessions. Kind of what I was mentioning. They've adjusted, the state has adjusted those requirements and allowed for more concessions based on the amount of percentage of low income to medium income requirements. And that's based on Los Angeles County adjusted medium income. The project was found to be exempt from CEQA. The staff sent out a public hearing notice. Planning Commission recommended approval on January 27th. The city attorney's office has reviewed the attached ordinance. There are no fiscal impacts associated with this proposal. This concludes staff's report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you for that report. Are there any technical questions you'd like to clarify before we open up the hearing?
Mayor, this is Pro Tem Kearney. I have a question for Sean.
Yes, sir.
Sean, on page 2, at the top, it says reduces parking requirements from 2 to 3 bedrooms units 2 parking spaces to 1.5 parking spaces. What is the dimension of a parking space? Is it 10 by?
Yeah, it's 10 by 20. So with those incentives, the developers can take advantage of the parking restrictions, that we have in the city. However, I will tell the council that we've had not many developers take advantage of the density bonus programs. Even with the additional concessions, the reason being, even we've had buyer's remorse for some developers that have taken advantage because of the very low income standard requirements. When they enter into housing agreements, they can only get so much rent or sell the units at so much below market. So some of the developers that have taken advantage of the density bonus, including parking, have had buyer's remorse. Now, I don't see a lot of developers taking advantage of these new changes, but they certainly can. And if they want to, we would follow our code as well as state law and help them process through the project. But even with these new incentives, I don't know if these would incentivize more folks to take advantage of it. Because as you know, parking is very challenging here in the city, and folks just really do not want to build units without having the ample parking for their tenants or for buyers.
Okay, I just wondered why to have a parking lot, how big it would be. 10 by 10, then, right?
Right, for one stall. Correct.
That's 100.
So, yeah, it's really small. Now, our code currently requires 2-car garage or an enclosure type, 20 by 20.
Okay.
Right. And it doesn't matter what size bedroom they have, or if it's 2 or 3 bedrooms, we require 2-car garage.
Okay. Because I guess the only thing that fit in that half a parking space is a mini coupe, huh?
Yes. Yeah, I saw. Oh, you meant the 0.50. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
But again, developers, they will provide the full. I can almost guarantee they will not try to reduce it down to 0 or half.
Okay.
It just because they have folks. We get complaints particularly about the ADUs that if they don't build the parking areas for the accessory dwelling units, folks are having to park and walk blocks to their residence.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. It is now 6:47. I will open up the public hearing at 6:47. I'm going to ask the clerk, are there anyone that wish to testify in this matter? Have they issued any written testimonies?
Mr. Mayor, no written testimony received.
Okay, very well. With that, we will close the testimony. And it is now 6:48, and we will close the public hearing at this time and bring it to the diocese for deliberation. What is the pleasure of this body concerning this item? Are there any discussions? Well, I would just say real quick, I mean, in terms of discussion, obviously this is something that we have to respond to as a city. As challenging as parking is in the city, unfortunately, the state of California has, imposed certain restrictions, if you will, on municipalities, and this hearing is basically, municipal codes designed to reflect the changes in Sacramento, which was handed down in Sacramento, and that's not a whole lot that cities can do, but we do what we can, of course, to preserve as much parking as we can, so that we can have parking in it, so we won't be as densely populated. And it's always a balancing act, staying in conformance with the dictates of Sacramento. That's all I wanted to comment. With that, unless there's any other comment, I will entertain a motion.
This is Councilmember Suarez. I make that motion.
Okay, Councilwoman Suarez has made a motion that we accept the staff recommendation.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, this is Mayor Pro Tem Kearney. I'll second it.
Okay, and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Kearney. Are there any discussions on the motion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, will you conduct the vote?
Of course. For item number 9, Mayor Pro Tem Kearney,
Yes.
Councilmember Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman-Gorman,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuevas,
Yes.
Mayor Poland Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam. Next item on our agenda is item 10, project development updates. Let's have the staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is Kevin Chun, City Manager. With this item, I thought we would do something a little bit different to keep the members of the council updated as well as members of the community updated on development that's currently taking place in our city. And as you know, for a small city like ours, we do have a lot of development that is taking place. And Sean Moore, our Director of Community Development, and his staff have been working very hard with businesses and potential tenants to move in and establish new businesses and build new housing in the city, et cetera. And I wanted to use this as an opportunity to talk about projects that have been recently completed, as well as projects that are currently being worked on, and also proposed projects that we see coming down the line. So with that, I wanted to, again, just do this update, and hopefully we will be able to do this for the council and the community once every 6 months. So come 6 months from now, we'll come back and hopefully we'll have even more projects to update you all on. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sean Moore, our Director of Community Development, for more details on developments that are currently on our list right now. With that, Sean.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Kevin and Council. I appreciate that. So bringing forward, I just wanted to let the council inform the council and the members of the public. The community development department's worked for about 4 years. As you can see, the project on the left side, the old 99-cent store, located at off of Hawthorne on the west side of Hawthorne Boulevard, just directly across from the Wiener Schnitzel. This project, 99-cent store, I believe, left in December 2016. We had many end users propose uses in there. 99 different types of Dollar Tree type stores, different types of uses. Unfortunately, they all did not pan out. It's a difficult and challenging site because it's an older building, late 50s building, 40s building. It had a mezzanine on the top. There used to be a karate studio located in the top floor. So we worked with the developer. We finally got a nice end user, which was WSS. They approached the department and asked if this would be something we'd be willing to work with them on. And you can see on the right-hand side, the new store, the new facade enhancement we got completed just a few months ago, around December. We were able to get them done. They're still in the process of finishing up some of the details inside the building, but overall, most of the building is complete. It was a lot of work to get these guys in. I mean, there was a lot of damage done to the building on the inside because it had been sitting vacant for so many years and had been stripped out of copper, all the wiring, the plumbing. So the developer had to go in there and replace all of that, as well as move almost a portion of the top mezzanine to allow higher stacking of the shoes. My understanding from the vice president of operations that this is going to be their flagship store because their headquarters is located in Torrance, and they will be bringing folks by that they like the Jordans that sell the Jordans and different celebrity type folks, and they were going to use this as their flagship store. So they wanted to make sure it was a nice looking end product here in Lawndale. Next one, this is at the Target Center. This is King of Wings. We worked with this applicant for about a year. They had to redo the inside of the old Hank's Bistro, if the council recalls there. It's in the Target Center on the end. And this is building, let's see, A, B, and C. I think it's building C there. Actually, C, A, B, it'd be D, C. It's building A on the end of that strip center there. It'd been there for quite a few years. Hank's took it over from another owner. And then Hank's sold out to some folks from Hawthorne that had an existing couple businesses around the South Bay, and they came with this idea of King of Wings. We worked with them for quite a few months to get this restaurant up and coming, and after everything was finalized, they are now operating. This property, we work with the developer to develop. It's in the R3 zone. If it's off 4347 West 171st. This was an older house. It had some code violations on it for a long time. I worked with the property owner for about 2 years directly on the code matter. We tried to work with them, but he decided it'd be better. He got an offer he couldn't refuse. So he sold out to one of our local developers, and they came forward with 3 condominium units and developed them from what it originally looked to. This property is right adjacent to the alley next to the Yoshinoya. So if you kind of know where that, on the east side of Hawthorne-Borough and the south end of this quarter of the city. And we got these nice new condominiums home ownership. We worked with this property for quite a few years. It had been vacant. Allied moved out about a year or so ago. I'm not quite sure. We're not quite sure, but we had several end users attempting to go into that site. We want to find something more compatible that generated some sales tax for the city. So we were approached by this property, Hirsch Pipe and Supply. They, after Allied Jensen relocated out of the city, they signed a lease up, and I believe they should be starting to operate anytime soon. They're bringing. They originally told us they're going to start with 6 employees. They're expected to address there's a gap in the piping and plumbing contractors type business, and they're expected to bring in a lot of business for contractors in the area. So we were happy to have them, so we got them in. They may come back later seeking a special use permit to allow outdoor storage. Allied did not have a special use permit, but they had grandfathered in. Our current code requires any outdoor storage that they have it fully screened with a block wall and that they have it below the wall. But for right now, they're just doing operations on the inside. So we anticipate them coming back, seeking a use permit for permission to be allowed to operate outside. This is one of my favorite sites, located next to the McDonald's, my favorite place I go in the morning. The 156 and Hawthorne Boulevard. This was the old mattress store. As the council is well aware, we have a lot of old non-conforming previous furniture stores. And what that means is very difficult to get commercial end users in there or retailers because they lack parking, or they're developed and early on in the 50s and 60s without parking. So what we try to do is find end uses that can get in these. This took me about a good couple of years to get someone in here. This gentleman came from Texas. He asked if we could work with him on the parking. We counted his parking out on the Hawthorne and on the side street there. He seems to be doing pretty well. He's been open ever since we've gotten him. It's been about a year. But before it was a mattress supplier. Now they sell TVs, I think, appliances, barbecues, and other things in there as such. This is our new hotel site. You might have seen it's on 153rd and Hawthorne on the west side. We work with the property owner when they're in escrow. It was the previous owner, Fair, was in there, an auto sales retailer. They've since moved out. Their lease ended in December of previous year of 2020. And the new owners of the Hampton Inn, Mr. Patel, they were able to come forward last year. I think it was around March. It's almost a 200-room hotel, Hampton Inn, home to you. It's like a mixed type design. They met all the requirements and conditions of approval. Planning Commission approved it. This is the previous picture of the site, and this is what it'll look like after it's constructed. We worked with the applicant for quite a few months to expedite him and get him through the process, and he was happy. Now there's been a little bit of delay, as the council knows, because of COVID. The current property owner had some financing issues, so they bring in some additional partners to help on developing the site. They're currently doing their asbestos testing for the existing buildings on the site, and we've offered up for them to pull out the demo of those structures on the site to alleviate some of the transient activity on the property there. So you see, if you've noticed it this week, or maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, they put up a green fence, construction fencing, and they're just waiting for their approvals from AQMD to move forward with their demolition. This was a site we were approached. It's the old Hobby People Italy 2000 site off of the south end of the city on the west side of Hawthorne Boulevard at 16711 Hawthorne, if everyone's familiar with that area. The property has sold off. The Italy 2000 folks decided to, size down, unfortunately, but we had a new end user, and Access Supply. They've come in and asked us to do what we call like a food kitchen. So several of these businesses right now during the COVID, but even before COVID, they had been in talking to us about a reuse on this. This is a great reuse. They have various 32 little mini kitchens inside there, and each end user, like McDonald's, Taco Bell, what have you, they have little end kitchens where they prep the food for delivery out to the public. So instead of impacting their current operations at their restaurant, they have a separate operation in this facility. So it could be like a Benihana's type, it could be a classic cast and cleaver, or any type of end user there that would go into that site, and they have their own kitchen to prepare food for delivery. So we thought that was an interesting reuse for the site, and they also allow for walk up onto the property as well, so you can walk up, order your food inside the building. This is a 8-unit condominium project that's over, I guess it would be in the south side of Manhattan Beach Boulevard, probably a couple blocks east of Hawthorne Boulevard. We worked with this developer for about 2 years to develop a nice design to try to make an attractive new design of 8 new condominiums with tuck under parking, associated parking. They meet all the parking requirements. Some of the challenges we had on this property with the backing out into the alley, making sure they weren't impacting, and as well as allowing the location of the trash enclosure were some of the challenges as well as the ADA. We worked with the applicant, got in a nice design. When they're finished, they'll be for sale. And I know the Planning Commission really liked the design when these came through and were approved about a year or so ago. That concludes staff's report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions? I'll take some questions.
Mayor Pro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kearney,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Sean, do you see any banks or credit unions coming into the city in the near future?
We
don't have either one of them.
Yeah, we recently talked to some folks from a credit union that are interested in some sites. We provided some locations for them to locate some sites potentially. There was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we are working with a potential credit union. I think they're in Inglewood or El Segundo, a local credit union. They're interested in locating in Lawndale.
That'd be fantastic. That's it.
Yeah.
Robert.
Yeah, I would hope that they would be looking at I know they're looking at some possible ATMs or kiosks, but I would hope they would be looking at actual buildings so people can walk in, get some service too, but I'm not necessarily sure what the scope of their interest is.
Mr. Mayor, they did tell us that they were looking at kiosks, but they were interested in some real estate as well, locating a potential credit union center here in Lawndale. So we have been working with them. We are excited I sent them about 4 or 5 addresses and screenshot some, Google sites for them.
Yes.
Hopefully they've reached out and given some contact information for the respective property owners so they can put some deals together, and then we can process them through for approval through the Planning Commission.
Very good. Any other questions? I'll make a couple of observations. You said the WSS would be their flagship store. I mean, when you look at the before and after, that obviously that location, as you stated, Sean, has been a challenge to get a tenant in there. There was a couple of tenants in there. If it was not for the fact that not tenants, but proposed tenants, if it was not for the fact that we had the forethought to kind of regulate some medical use, we would have a medical use there. Some medical concern was looking to relocate there. Unfortunately, our specific plan did not allow them to locate on the first floor, and so that was the end of that journey. And thank God, because we can't lose our retail opportunities. And so I'm excited to see the WSS shoe store here, so we can have the retail opportunities. And for those who don't buy shoes, tennis shoes, may not know that a lot of families invest a lot of money in tennis shoes, especially young folks. And so this should be a good tax revenue opportunity for the city. So I'm excited to have them in our town. And the store looks absolutely incredible. What's not mentioned here, or you don't see here in this photo, is the I don't know if it's called a marquee or whatever it's called. It's like a little bitty wall right on the corner in the parking lot.
Yes, it's a monument sign, Mr. Mayor.
Monument sign. Now that really, when they put that sign there, that really, topped it off, and it really looks nice there. So I just wanted to put that in there. King of Wings, yeah, they do have some very nice wings, some good wings. I've been there a few times so far, so yeah, I've have a chance to go over there. That whole plaza looks very nice, absolutely, since they did the redevelopment of that plaza. And the 3 condos, those are nice style, contemporary. So I like that. Obviously, the pipe and supplies will bring in some tax dollars as well. There's a lot of construction going on, and we hope construction will increase. And I did have one question on the sign. Which one was that? With the company that does the Access Supplies. Let me see here. What it was my comment. Oh, I was wondering about the sign on top of the building. What's the plan for the sign on top of this building?
Yeah, we talked to the owner. They plan on just keeping they just lease it, the company, but they had not planned on using that signage. It's legal non-conforming. Typically, developers, if those signs, if you'll see them up and down Lawndale, they don't take them down because they're legal non-conforming. We would not allow that type of signage. So as part of their development, if they move in, we don't have that nexus to ask them to take down the signage. They can utilize the signage,
yeah,
but they're just using their little wall signs and whatnot.
Okay, I just wondered if they were going to actually utilize it. It would be nice for it to actually be on, to utilize it.
I think I don't know all the tenant terms, but I think there might be some additional term requirements to utilize the sign.
Okay. And lastly, I would say, almost lastly, that the proposed Hampton Inn Hotel would really liven up that corner. Obviously, we have to take in consideration traffic in that area, but I trust that the designers know how to design it in such a way that traffic will be mitigated. Obviously, the TOT taxes would be a boon for our city, so that's nice. And yes, I would say that the was it Pineway on food pickups? That is a pretty interesting concept. Where you can pick up the food. I'm still not totally clear. I think you can pick up the food. Individuals can pick up the food as well as corporations can just prepare the food and then they send it. Then they bring it to their.
It's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Spot?
Correct. Both. It's both individuals as well as delivery, like Uber Eats or whatnot. They can go in and pick up the foods, and these are all independent food companies like a Taco Bell or a McDonald's. They'll have someone in there prepping the food to their requirements. That way it doesn't impact, according to the applicant, that way their existing operations are not impacted by food delivery and pickup. Because right now, even the pandemic, this project came to us before the pandemic. This is the newest thing that folks have their food delivered, as everyone knows that you can have your food, but it was really picking up. And there's only a few locations throughout the state where they've done this up in the Bay Area. So they wanted to give Lawndale a try since we're centrally located in Los Angeles. They thought this would be a great place and a reuse for this building. And we thought so too, because it's really unique in 32 different kitchens, different preparations going on, and different types of food. But yes, Mr. Mayor, you can pick up as well as have food delivered.
Very good. Centrally located, the heart of the South Bay. Okay. I do like to say that, the Community Development Department has been busy, and I like these projects that's coming through, and I hear there's a few others that's in the pipeline that's not ready to debut, but I do like what's coming down the pike, and I like how things are shaping up. So good work to the Community Development Department. Anyone else have any observations they want to make? All right. With that, we'll, without any objection, we'll receive and file this report. Okay. Hearing none, I want to thank you, Mr. Community Development Director, for this report, and we will receive and file.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is item 11, award of contract for solid waste consulting services. Let's have the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and the member of the council. This is Julian Lee, Director of Public Works. The item before you is the award of contract for solid waste consulting services. And as you know, the details of this item was presented at last city council meeting. And as directed by the council, staff has met and discussed with the HFNH and received a revised proposal and fee schedule. The new fee schedule places HFNH to be the lowest bidder at $261,000, as well as submitting adjusted audit fee schedule. With that, staff recommends the City Council award the solid waste consulting service contract to HFNH in an amount of $261,000 for 29-month services until June 30th of 2023, and authorize the increase of AB 939 contract services appropriation for current fiscal year in the amount of $44,289. Thank you, and staff is available for any questions.
All righty, thank you for that report. Are there any questions of the report? Okay, seeing none. What is the pleasure of this body concerning item 11?
Mayor, this is Mayor Pro Tem Kearney. I move to accept the staff recommendation and great job in lowering the price on the biannual audit fee.
Yeah, here. Okay, the motion was made by Kearney that we accept the award of the contract.
This is Councilmember Cuevas. I'll second that.
And seconded by Councilwoman Cuevas. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask the city clerk to conduct the vote, please.
Okay, for item number 11, Mayor Pro Tem Kearney,
Yes.
Councilmember Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman-Gorman,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuevas,
Yes.
Mayor Pullen-Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, madam. Next item on the agenda, item 12, illegal fireworks suppression plans for 2021. Let's have the staff report. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. It's Kevin Chun, City Manager again. This item is being brought to you in response to the challenges that the city faced last year with regard to the use of illegal fireworks in town. And of course, as we've talked about, this isn't something that's unique to Lawndale. However, it was quite a challenge for us, and we heard a lot of concerns from the community regarding the use of illegal fireworks. So, as I promised last year, we wanted to come back to the City Council early during 2001 for the City Council to consider proposed strategies for combating illegal fireworks. And after, after discussions with the Sheriff's Department, working very closely with them, we've put together these strategies that are before you tonight. And with that, our Director of Municipal Services, Michael Reyes, will make this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and distinguished members of the City Council. This is Michael Reyes, Director of Municipal Services for the City of Lawndale. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. This presentation is to give the Council some advance information on staff strategies for what we anticipate will be a busy 4th of July holiday for our law enforcement officers as a result of the use and sale of illegal fireworks. This presentation will discuss strategies that we have used in the past, as well as introduce a number of new options that we think will be very successful in limiting and discouraging illegal firework use in the City of Lawndale. Illegal fireworks create a danger to the community, both to public safety and public and private property. They also create tremendous amounts of noise pollution, which is upsetting to residents as well as to animal owners in the city. Sales of illegal fireworks are contrary to the rules and guidelines of the City of Lawndale and also impede the sales revenue that would support legitimate, safe, and sane fireworks sales. This year, as in previous years, the city will utilize its SAO team to catch violators lighting illegal fireworks by adjusting their shifts to begin later in the afternoon and have them patrol into the late evening. We anticipate shifting the SAOs 1 to 2 months ahead of the July 4th holiday so they can get a head start on illegal firework usage that occurs leading up to the holiday. Additionally, our goal is to schedule added deputies for overtime shifts for the entire week leading up to the July 4th holiday using funds from the annual JAG money. Deployment of deputies in unmarked vehicles. One of the new ideas we have is one that I've experienced at other places that I've worked. One of the most difficult aspects of enforcing firework violations is that the violators often see deputies patrolling on city streets before deputies are able to see them, making it difficult to catch perpetrators in the act of lighting illegal fireworks. This year, we're proposing to rent undercover and nondescript vehicles for two-man deputy teams to patrol neighborhoods in. Each team will patrol predetermined known hotspots for illegal firework usage, and when violators are observed lighting fireworks, deputies will call a patrol deputy in a black and white vehicle to issue the citation. The two-man deputy teams will continue this practice each night leading up to the July 4th holiday. Also this year, administrative citations rather than criminal citations will be issued by the deputies, which were used in previous years. As the courts have been reluctant to enforce criminal citations, we believe administrative citations will be much more effective in deterring illegal firework usage. Next slide, please, Matthew. We also wish to reallocate our resources. Deputies will be deployed to pre-established areas where known firework usage is at its highest. Going by previous citations and looking at known firework violators, we will highlight those areas as the places we will deploy our deputies. All illegal fireworks will be confiscated and administrative citations will be issued to violating parties. The goal of staff is not to create revenue, but rather to create a deterrent to illegal firework usage. The goal of the city will be to change behaviors rather than to punish our residents. Next slide, please. Increased awareness within the community is also one of our goals. As we have done in prior years, making the public aware that illegal fireworks are prohibited will be a high priority. The message trailer will be parked on major streets advising of no illegal fireworks and will include the fine amount as well as the information that they're not allowed. Also, a banner will be purchased to stretch across Hawthorne Boulevard advising that illegal fireworks are prohibited, and additional signage will be purchased and posted in neighborhoods advising the public that illegal fireworks are prohibited. The city will also create an aggressive social media and traditional media campaign in the weeks leading up to the July 4th holiday, advising that fireworks are prohibited. It is also the intent of staff to advertise the use of undercover vehicles by deputies to further discourage perpetrators from lighting illegal fireworks. Next slide. Some additional options that are being considered, but we are seeking the guidance from council. Two additional options that staff would like to get direction from are for a progressive penalty and for a resident reporting option.
Yep.
The progressive penalty would be for $1,000 administrative citations to increase for every successive citation given to repeat offenders within a 5-year period, leading up to a maximum of $5,000 for a third citation within 5 years, which the start date being the day the initial citation was issued. Any other sites within a 5-year period would go to $2,500 for the second site and $5,000 for the third. The second option that staff seeks direction on would be to allow residents to submit to municipal service staff documentation either by cell phone photographs or video showing neighbors lighting illegal fireworks. Staff recognizes that this could be a very divisive and contentious means to enforce illegal firework use, and at this time our city attorney will still have to look into the legality of doing this, but staff wants to present it to the city council before the city attorney moves forward with researching this option. Staff currently estimates implementation of this plan will cost about $25,000 and hopes to secure funding through the Justice Assistant Grant Program. Staff recommends that the City Council review the proposed illegal fireworks suppression plan for 2021 and provide direction to the strategies in this report. I'm available to answer questions now.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there any questions of the report, illegal fireworks suppression plan?
This is Cuevas. On the progressive program fireworks penalty, could we start it as of last year and then whoever violated last year, this year will get, let's say, the $2,500 fee instead of the $1,000 fee?
Good evening, Councilwoman Cuevas. Thank you for your question. I think it would be difficult to proactively introduce that, since people who got citations last year wouldn't know about this progressive penalty. So I think it'd be problematic to introduce it, dating it back last year. It is something that can be considered. Again, these last two suggestions or strategies are basically we're looking to the council for directives on. In any way you want to do it, we can certainly look into. We can make the term longer. It could be a 10-year period, and the sites could be much more than 5,000 if that's what the council, with the directive we were to receive from everyone. Again, these are just suggestions right now. We are getting ahead of this because it is a few months away. But these last two ones were the ones that were seemingly most controversial. That's why we wanted to present them to you before we pursue them. I would also like to add one other thing that I think I forgot to mention. We are also going to introduce the ability to have officers writing citations for fireworks that are lit from backyards or from behind tall buildings or on commercial property behind walls. Typically with criminal citations, the deputies would have to observe the violator doing the crime before the citation can be issued. With administrative citations, we wouldn't be relying on that any longer. If deputies observe fireworks being launched into the air from someone's backyard and no one answers the door and no one wants to talk to the deputies could just document the event, give it to city staff, and the next day we could write an administrative citation to the property owner based on the information on Citizen Serve.
And Councilmember Cuevas, this is Kevin Chun. Just to further respond to your question, another difficulty with making the progressive penalties begin with last year, or to make them retroactive, I guess, is the fact that in previous years we've used criminal citations, which, as Michael mentioned, has been problematic in getting those through the courts. So with the holiday for this year, we will be moving towards administrative citations. So that will be new for the city, and we could then make the administrative citation fines progressive from this point forward.
Thank you.
Mayor, this is Mayor Pro Tem Kearney. I have a few questions or comments. Michael, on your first bullet point, I don't know how the rest of the council thinks, but I think doing the shift 6 weeks out is a little long, maybe 4 weeks before and 2 weeks after. That's the first comment. And then second one on the third bullet point is administrative citations. We don't have that program set up. What would that cost the city to set that up? And how long do you figure it would take to recoup the money to set that up from illegal fireworks? If you have any idea, have a crystal ball or something.
Sure. Good evening, Councilman Kearney. Thank you for your questions. As to the first question, first comment on the rescheduling of the SAOs, we could set that at any date. That this is all just whatever the council thinks is advisable. We left it as sort of vague, between 1 to 2 months. Just in past years, we recognize that these illegal fireworks start as early as May. So having our deputies, our SAO deputies, start at a different shift wouldn't cost the city anything. It would just be altering their time. So, but we're open to any suggestions that the council has and their ideas. As for the other one, administrative citations are done and ready to go. We gave a copy of the draft, the finalized administrative citation to Greg Murphy, our city attorney, just last week, just to get some feedback. And as soon as we get clarification that it's good to go, it'll go to the printers and we can begin writing within 2 to 3 weeks. So not just for fireworks, but also for illegal vendors, dogs off leash. Now, typically those citations start at $100. Fireworks are the only ones that start at $1,000.
Okay, and then on page 2, the last bullet point about advertise the use of unmarked cars. I'm sitting on the fence with that. I don't know if we should advertise that we have unmarked cars there, because as you know, in years past, even the sheriffs know, they have spotters out unless we rent them an Edsel and a Rambler, they'd never know. But if you, anything looks like a sheriff's car, I think that'd be advantageous to our trying to enforce illegal fireworks.
Yes, sir.
And then the middle page with the city of Lawndale may also introduce new enforcement techniques that have not been the practice in the previous years. I think you left out a word in the first line. It said administrative citation issued to property owners that allow, it should say illegal fireworks, shouldn't it? To be used for their, I'm just, making an observation there.
Correct. I was going to say there are time frames in which legal fireworks can be lit as well, though. If deputies did see somebody lighting in August, then they could technically get a cite as well. But to your to the first point there, Councilman Kearney, based on just my own experiences and working for other cities that did use the undercover vehicles, they're not using actually bomber cars or slick cars that the sheriff's department has. We're actually renting minivans, pickup trucks, Volkswagens, things that are very nondescript that look like family cars. The police officers are in full uniform in the vehicles. They're assigned to just patrol certain neighborhoods, and it's a lot easier to catch the people. Now, in just keeping with the theme of not trying to make this a fundraiser, but actually just discourage bad behavior. That's the reason for advertising it and for letting the public be aware of it ahead of time.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, are there any other questions? I do like the proposal. I think this will help to abate, hopefully, by a great a reduction in the illegal fireworks this year. I think Councilman Kearney answered a few of my questions that I had, so I think I'm okay. Anyone else have any questions?
I just had a comment, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to take a moment and tell Michael, thank you for this. This plan is made up. I do like the progressive penalty. And I would be one that would consider it even going out further than the 5 years. Because of the amount of years some of these known users of the illegal ones have been around in our neighborhoods the way it has stand now. So I think we're on the right track with this. That was it. But thank you, Michael, for the hard work you and your team has put into this report.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hoffman-Gorman. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I would also agree if we could go beyond 5 years, basically whatever the law would allow to the full extent. I would agree. Okay, so what is the pleasure of this? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem Kearney again.
Yes, sir.
Will this going to affect this year or will it be next year? Is it too late or is it okay? We can still do it this year.
Yes, Councilmember Kearney, it's Kevin Chun again. The intent is to have these measures go into effect for this year. Of course, we would have to, now that assuming the council buys into these strategies, the next step would be for our city attorney to look at these measures from a legal standpoint to ensure that we can implement these legally. So assuming that can be done, they will be implemented for this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then
That's
one more
great.
thing, Robert.
Yes, sir.
I received a thing from Matt that we had a comment from a resident, I think on this issue. If Matt's on.
Yes,
Matt,
we do.
We have a comment? Okay,
Yes, we do. Thank you. I'll go ahead and read it verbatim.
Yeah.
It's from Randall Abram, Lawndale resident. It is encouraging that the city staff and the new city attorney are finally listening to the residents with an attempt to consider an overall plan to curtail the use of illegal fireworks several months before July 4th. Fortunately, the new city attorney is willing to consider new approaches to this ongoing problem. The plan suggests the use of unmarked undercover deputies, but unlike past years, will these vehicles be able to respond to the calls from the dispatch center? How many marked cars will patrol that date? Last year, after many calls, we did not see any marked vehicles, which can provide a visual deterrent. In past years, the deputies would go door to door before July 4th to those homes that were violators the year before. This significantly reduced the use of illegal fireworks on my block. Perhaps looking at problem areas from last year and warning residents there might be a significant way to reduce usage. Last year, the area near Fremona along the railroad tracks was a major area for illegal fireworks. The use of administrative citations for illegal fireworks was implemented a few years ago. The increased usage can be a way to reduce illegal fireworks and add revenue to the city's budget. An estimated cost of $25,000 is reasonable if it comes close to reducing the barrage of mortars that bombarded the city before, during, and after July 4th. However, it would seem only fair that the manufacturers of the fireworks share in the cost. In recent years, the fireworks distributors were walking away with up to $300,000. Only a small fraction of the fireworks sales actually reaches the nonprofits, whereas around 60 to 70% of the proceeds benefit the manufacturers. The City of Carson requires the wholesalers to have a business license, provide proof of insurance, and pay a permit fee to offset the city's costs. The City of Gardena requires $20,000 annually from each wholesaler or distributor. As stated in Gardena's municipal code, said annual regulatory fee was established not to generate revenue for the city, but to attempt to offset hard costs associated with police, public works, and recreation department staffing during the fireworks sales and discharge periods, as well as other costs associated with ensuring community safety. At the January 19th, 2021 City Council meeting, a vice president from TNT Fireworks spoke supporting the use of safe and sane fireworks, touting the benefits of legal fireworks to the community. Unfortunately, he didn't offer any financial contributions to the increased costs the city incurs due to this program in his sales. Does the city have any requirements for TNT and Phantom? With its limited finances, perhaps as other cities do, Lawndale should be looking to the fireworks distributors and sharing a small percentage of their significant profits from fireworks sales towards the costs incurred during the fireworks sales and discharge period. Thus ends public comment.
Okay, thank you for that. Reading that public comment, we would take that under consideration. That is something that the writer mentioned that I don't know if it's probably too late for this year, but I'm interested in seeing or at least exploring the fireworks companies contribution. I'm not really sure at this point if they have a contribution. I know obviously they partake in the sales, and that's how they benefit from the sales, and we know how our community organizations benefit from the sales, so they can fund their youth programs. I'm wondering if it would be wise to look into whether or not to require the fireworks companies to also share in some revenue of some sort. Something we need to explore so we can have it on deck to consider for next year. It's probably too late this year.
I agree with you, Robert.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, it's Kevin Chun. That is something we can certainly look into. We will see if it is something that we can get done for the current year. But if not, we'll keep it on our list of things to do and see if we can get it done for next year.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Are there any other discussions, or what is the pleasure of this body concerning this item?
Mayor Pro Tem Kearney, I think we should
Yes, sir.
move forward with this strategies.
Okay.
I don't know if you need a stack of the city council review it, propose. I think we should move forward with it. And the attorney look at the fees and the length of time before 4th of July.
Okay. I don't know. I don't think we have to have an official vote on this. We can take this with unanimous consent unless there is without objection. We can have the staff to move forward.
Mayor, I would also just like to add to what Pat just said is any of this that we can get accomplished for this particular year, that would be absolutely outstanding. I understand that some of these things might not be able to be taken into effect until 2022 because of time restraints, but I also would like to see those that could be implemented for this season be done.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. It sounds like most of these should be able to be implemented. Obviously, as long as they panned out legally, should be able to be implemented. Obviously, the part that I suggest based on the residents' comments may not be able to be implemented this year, but surely the rest of it should be able to, as long as they meet muster legally. But thank you for that. Without any objections, we will move forward with the illegal fireworks suppression plans. Let me make sure, as the city manager, is that enough direction?
Mr. Mayor, yes, it is. We will move forward. We will continue to work with the Sheriff's Department and then work very closely with Greg Murphy, our city attorney, to see if we can implement these legally.
Okay, with the goal of implementing them as much as possible this year.
Correct. Yes, that will be our goal for this year, 2021.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
This is Councilmember Suarez. If we could just have maybe a recap of this before maybe around June or so, because it's going to come up again about what we're planning to do. So maybe if we could do a mini presentation again around that time so that the residents are aware of what we're planning.
That is a Councilmember Suarez. It's Kevin Chun again. That is a very good idea, and we certainly could do that. That may be a good way of wrapping this up. Since tonight we are bringing this to you in concept after we've done all of our analysis and we've determined that it can be done legally. Then we will come back at a later time. Perhaps June, like you suggested, to present what measures we will actually be doing for 2021.
Very good. Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, so that would do it for item 12. We're now at the city manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Just a couple items for tonight. First, I just wanted to say a few words regarding vaccinations. I know that's obviously something that many of us are looking towards and considering as we're all kind of done with the pandemic, and we're hoping to all get beyond this and be well. But as of right now, vaccines, generally speaking, are only available for healthcare workers, long-term care facility residents, and persons age 65 and older. So that's, like I said, generally speaking, who the vaccines are being made available for because of the current supply issues that we have. However, I did learn today that perhaps with the beginning of next month, vaccines will also be made available for some essential workers, which would include teachers, childcare workers, law enforcement personnel, as well as emergency responders. So hopefully we'll be able to continue to provide these vaccines for more and more of our community and society, and we'll be able to get beyond the pandemic. For more information for our residents who are interested, if they're interested in more information regarding vaccines, to see if they're available for the vaccines as of now, for information on vaccine locations, and to make appointments for vaccines. There is information available on the county's website as well as on the state system, and I'll give two websites. One is vaccinatelacounty.com, and the other one is on the state's system, which is myturn.ca.gov. And of course, all of this information is available for our residents on the city's website at lawndalecity.org. So I encourage our residents to get the information they need from all of those sites. The other item I wanted to bring to the public's attention is the fact that the city's general plan and Hawthorne Boulevard specific plan update is well underway. For the benefit of our residents, the general plan is a city document that outlines the city's goals and policies and implementation actions for the future of development in Lawndale. And the other part of it, the Hawthorne specific plan, will outline a vision for development along Hawthorne Boulevard, which obviously is our central commercial corridor. And this is an extremely important effort that's underway. And it's critically important that we get public input and participation in this process. This isn't something that happens on a very regular basis. In fact, the last time the city had a general plan update, my understanding it was in the early 1990s. So this is really a crucial time. It's an opportunity for our residents and other community members to participate and share their thoughts regarding how Lawndale should develop and grow in the future. So again, we really need the public to step up and be a part of this process. The first meeting, the first public meeting was held on February 3rd. There will be additional meetings coming up. Unfortunately, we're somewhat hampered by this public participation process because of COVID restrictions, but we do plan to have more meetings with the public. And so I, again, encourage our residents to take part in this process. And one thing that members of the public can do now is sign up for future announcements on the city's website. And if you go to the city's website, and again, that's lawndalecity.org, you will find a link to a separate website specifically for our general plan and Hawthorne Boulevard specific plan update. So there will be more information that I will and staff will share in the weeks and months ahead of us. But again, I do encourage everyone to be a part of this process as it is very important for our city. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Okay, City Council's reports. Okay, forgive me if I go out of order. I'm trying to visualize here. Let's hear from Councilwoman Suarez.
So I did attend the first workshop for the general plan. Very introductory. Thank you to staff for putting that together. Looking forward to the conversations we'll have in the upcoming meetings. I also attended the South Bay City Council of Government Steering Committee. No update there. We will be having a board meeting this month, and that's all I had to report.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilwoman Cuevas.
On February 4th, I participated on the CCCA Virtual Sacramento Legislative Tour. Very informative, being that I'm a first time in this program. And then I also participated in the general plan for Hawthorne Boulevard. I do have a question. I have several seniors that do not have access to internet or computers. And they wanted to know how could they participate if they don't have access to that. Could we send something to them as far as like a mailer to the seniors? to let them know about the workshops?
Mr. Mayor, this is Sean. I can answer that
Yes, sir.
if it's okay. Yeah, this is Sean, Director of Community Development. Councilman Cuevas, we can certainly mail them out. If you get me their information, we can provide them mailers and the survey. The Community Development Department can work with them on getting the information if they want to make comments. Right now, we're a little bit limited with one-on-one with folks because of COVID, but we can certainly provide the information for them to participate by sending them the information. They can fill out the surveys. They can also, send us a letter if they prefer, or they can drop by the front. They can't come in, but they can, we can talk with them and call them on the phone as well. That's another alternative, and they can provide us their comments too as well.
Thank you, Sean. I'll get you the information.
Yep, thank you. And again, that goes for anyone wishing to contact community development on this update. We're soliciting as much input as we can get because these documents are important city documents, and they need to reflect the community and not staff's reflection, but of the community. So we are definitely looking for input from the community on this and all stakeholders.
Before we leave that, Sean, is there any opportunities where we can set up a town where they can just call on the telephone
We could do that. I can talk to staff and our consultant. We can definitely look into that. That's some. Right now, we've been doing the online stuff. That's what our consultant that we hired is doing around the state. They work at quite a few other communities, and right now, because of the limitation of COVID, they're seeing limited input for the communities that they're working in, right. And Lawndale's no different, obviously. But definitely, I think that'd be fine. We're going to hold, actually, we're going to have a meeting in Spanish as well. A couple folks recommended that as well. So we're going to hold a second meeting, like a first introductory meeting for all the Spanish speaker folks that if they want to attend as well. And all my staff are all bilingual, so they could participate that way as well on a WebEx. But certainly we can do a teleconference as well.
Yeah, let's look into that because they definitely have a telephone. If not the internet, they definitely have a telephone. That's where our seniors and those who can't participate online can at least listen in and maybe take a phone call online.
That sounds good. We'll put something together for that.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Cuevas, for bringing that issue up. Okay, let's see, Councilwoman Hoffman-Gorman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had one meeting this last week, and that was with Sheriff's Representative Captain Allen to get an update on things going on in our city. That's it.
Very nice. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, and Mayor Pro Tem Pat Kearney.
Thank you, Robert. City Manager and I attended our last liability and oversight committee meeting, and I can report that one case was settled and there's several pending. That's it. Thank you, Robert.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Just one announcement. Going back to COVID. We have not a vaccination center, but for testing for COVID-19 testing there at the Lawndale Urgent Care Center for any person that may be interested in receiving a COVID test. It's located 16818 Hawthorne Boulevard, and the phone number is 310-542-0200. Once again, it's 310-452-0200, and that's the Lawndale Urgent Care for COVID-19 testing. I did attend the sanitation district meeting last time we met, and I also attend a meeting, my first meeting of a new group, relatively new group called the California Mayors Coalition that was formed pretty recently, last year, and we're now up to 100 mayors of small to medium-sized cities. With the mission of this organization is to bring attention in Sacramento and into the federal government on communities that are not considered large communities, and usually these are communities with 300,000 folks or so usually get the attention. However, smaller cities such as Lawndale and the other 400 cities in California is not receiving the same type of recognition from organizations or agencies such as FEMA, because of, we have less population for some reason. But because we have 400 cities, smaller cities, we actually make up the majority. Most people live in a medium to small cities in California and don't live in one of the, I think it's like 7 or so big cities. And so we wanted to make sure that our voice is heard on COVID-19 relief funding, as we saw that the federal government did not directly receive or allocate, I should say, monies to smaller cities. Instead, we'd have to fight with the county to get our share of revenues or release funds from the federal government. So we want to make sure that our voices are heard as small cities. And so we'll be developing our agenda even more so, moving beyond COVID to dealing with Sacramento, and specifically land use issues as well, to make sure once again that we as small cities don't bear the burden of large cities, or I should say that the burden that large cities can shoulder. We don't necessarily have those resources in small cities, but sometimes Sacramento's seem to forget that, you know, a small city of 50,000 residents is not the same as, a city with 1 million residents. And so we should be treated on par, obviously, and with equality, but not at the same time be burdened with some of the regulations that's coming out of Sacramento. So that's one of the things we're going to be tackling as well, is the land use issues in Sacramento, in addition to COVID-19 relief. And that is the only meetings I have attended. I have to report. And so that's the end of my report. And with that, I do see we do have a closed session here. Okay, we're now to item number 14. Closed session is a conference with legal counsel concerning existing litigation. And I'm going to ask the city attorney to read the provision of the closed door session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council will now move into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 regarding existing litigation, the City of Lawndale versus Metropolitan Transportation Authority. That case number is more fully set forth in the agenda for anyone who would like to look at it. Thank you, sir.
So we will stand and adjourn to closed session. Thank you. Okay, we have returned from closed session. I'm going to ask the city attorney to give the report of the closed session. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council was briefed on the item of ongoing litigation and did give a unanimous recommendation to special counsel's office to negotiate out a settlement that accepts in concept the offers made by both defendants, both Caltrans and Metro, that the acceptance of those offers is contingent on a mutually acceptable written settlement agreement and on acceptable information being presented at the Green Line EIR scoping meeting on February 23rd. That is my report, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney, for that report. It is now time to adjourn. The next, yes, sir. Okay, it's now time to adjourn. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Lawndale City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, March the 1st, 2021. This meeting is now adjourned. It is 8:37. This meeting is adjourned.